Ahoy, my friends. Welcome aboard the Afro Tales Podcast. I'm your storyteller, Amon Mazingo. Join me as we explore the tales that grew from the people of Indigenous and African descent in the Americas and the Caribbean. After, come and see me, chef, who will impart upon you a recipe for the story you have just heard. So with no further ado, let us set sail on this new age of exploration. The Feast on the Mountain and the Feast under the Water. It was Anansi's birthday, and he invited all the animals to come to his feast and eat with him, and Tortoise came along too. But Anansi didn't want him, and before he went to eat, Anansi suddenly said that all the animals who were going to eat must wash their hands before they came to the table. Now, Tortoise went to wash his hands, but as he walked back, his hands got dirty again. He tried over and over, but he could not walk any other way, so he never got to eat at Anansi's table. Tortoise went away. He said,
Anansi tricked me, but I'm going to get even with him.
Tortoise decided he would also have a big feast, and he sent a call to all the animals to come and eat with him. He knew that Anansi would come, of course. When they arrived, he said his feast would be under the water. He knew Anansi was too light to swim down to where they were eating, but Anansi borrowed a pair of breeches and a coat, and he dressed himself in that. He picked up stones and put them in his pockets so that he might swim down. Now, when he was heavy enough, he went down into the water. The table was set, and all were beginning to eat. Tortoise looked and saw that Anansi had put stones in his pockets. Immediately, Tortoise said to all of them,
Before you come to the table, you must take off your coats.
Anansi was troubled when he heard this. He thought about it and said to himself, if I take off my coat, then I'm going to float up to the top again because the stones that are in my pockets are holding me. So he kept his coat on. But when Anansi came to the table, Tortoise at once said,
When you gave a feast, you did what you liked. When I give mine, I can do what I like too. You have to take off your coat.
So Anansi took his coat off. No sooner did he do so than he rose to the surface of the water. So he did not get any food that day. Greed caused this to happen to him. So when you eat, you must eat with others. The end. He pays for the provisions. Black Snake and Anansi were very good friends. They went to church one day and they heard a preacher preaching and telling about a famine that was coming. After he went home, Black Snake told Anansi that they must work a garden. Anansi said he was not going to work at any garden. He'd rather live as a thief. The next day, Black Snake started to work on his garden, planting yams, potatoes, okras, tanias, and as everything came into bloom, the famine started. All this time, Black Snake was expecting to see Anansi come to help, but he never saw him. Anansi came home and saw the garden and asked Black Snake for something to eat. Black Snake decided to give something to Anansi. But he told him that each time he must give him a lash with his long tail. You know how strong that black snake is. But Anansi saw that might give him some chance for even more food. Anansi went one day and Black Snake gave him a bunch of plantains, a few yams, some potatoes, okras, and calabu bush, the leaves of the dasheen turtle. And Anansi went home and made a big pot of food for himself. Then the next day, Anansi got a little kettle drum and he started to beat it, singing, "Mi Anansi, oh, Mi Anansi, oh, good feast here tonight, good feast here tonight, oh." Bruh Goat heard that, heard the singing, and he went up. "Anansi." "Yes, Bruh Goat." "What's happening?" "Say, oh, good man, I have bush peas. Man, bush peas and lots of other food left over from a feast last night." Well, Bruh Goat, being the kind of person who will eat anything, he really went at some of the leavings. And he got so full, he laid down to sleep and decided to spend the night. Around 12 o'clock, Black Snake came. "Anansi." "Yes, sir," he whispered to his guest. "Bruh Goat, open the door. Man, come." And as soon as Bruh Goat got up and opened the door, Black Snake gave a lash, whap, in the dark and cut Bruh Goat in half. Nancy got up and saw Bruh Goat lying there. He said, "Son of a, I'm going to have some food tomorrow." Early in the morning, Bruh Nancy cleaned Bruh Goat, cut him up, and put him in a pot. Seasoned him, cooked up a big pot full of goat water stew. But he needed some provisions: yams, peas, taro, and other roots. So he went back to Black Snake's garden now. Black Snake said, "Anansi, you aren't dead." He said, "No, Black Snake, look at me. Anansi here." And he begged another bag of provisions. So Black Snake gave Anansi some plantains again, some yams, some greens, potatoes, and Anansi went home and made a big feast for the second night. After Nancy had eaten, he started to dance and sing again. Mi Anansi, oh, Mi Anansi, oh, good feast here tonight, good feast here tonight, oh. Bruh Hog came up. Soon, Bruh Hog got there. Bruh Nancy said, "Oh, God, man, I have nice things to eat tonight. Nice things. A big feed going on here. Big feed." Bruh Nancy said, "People came here last night, and for the whole night, we had a big spread." So, Bruh Hog ate a belly full, and he fell asleep too. Just at 12 o'clock, Black Snake came again, just as he had the night before. As soon as Black Snake called at the door, Bruh Nancy said, "Bruh Hog, would you get up and open the door? Somebody's knocking." As soon as Bruh Hog opened the door, Black Snake lashed and cut Hog right in half, and he dropped dead. Bruh Nancy got up, cleaned hog, seasoned up hog, and the next day had made another big cook-up. But again, he needed provisions for the pot to go with the meat. So he went back to the field. Black Snake was really surprised now.
But Anansi, you mean to tell me you still alive?
Yes, Black Snake. You both beat me and you feed me. Black Snake gave him the same thing as usual. Well, by this time, Brother Anansi was finding it hard to find anyone who would be friends. Anansi walked around the house and started in with his drumming and singing. Big music here tonight. Big spree, oh, big spree. Neighbors all come here. Big spree tonight. Big spree. Neighbors, oh, come join me. Come join we. Get by spree. Well, Mr. Tattoo the armadillo was there. And Brother Tattoo decided to go. Now, Tattoo does not eat cooked food like that. He lives on rotten wood and worms. But he was interested in all the singing and dancing and whatever was going on. So Tattoo did not partake of anything that Brother Anansi was cooking. When night came, Anansi went and lay down on the bed. But Tattoo went and dug a hole right in front of the door in the dirt, and he lay down there. At 12 o'clock, when Black Snake came and called Anansi, Anansi called out, Bruh Tattoo, will you open the door? Tattoo said,
It's your house. It's for you to open the door. Don't you know good manners?
Black Snake called.
Brother Anansi.
Brother Anansi said, I'm coming, sir. Brother Tattoo, that man is knocking loud. Get up and open the door, man. I'm not feeling good. I've got a fever. Brother Tattoo said,
It's your house. It's for you to open the door and invite your friends inside. I'm not going to open anyone else's door.
Well, Anansi cannot get Tattoo to get up. And Black Snake was getting angry outside. So Anansi put a sofa, a chair, and a table on top, and he got under all of that. And as Brother Anansi got under all of that there, Black Snake gave a lash with his long tail and cut the table, chair, and everything else around in half, and nearly cut Brother Anansi in half too. And from that day, Anansi don't beg, but works for himself. There is the story. The end. Anansi climbs the wall. Back there a long time ago, Anansi and Brother Death decided to plant a provision field together. But Anansi and Death had a lot of quarrels. Anansi was always around smiling and playing around, making lots of nonsense. He would sit under the bamboo tree and make like he was some overseer. Anything but work in the field of provisions. So, of course, his yams and beans didn't grow. But Brother Death, he carried his hoe all day. And while he was hoeing, he was smacking his lips, thinking about all the yams and beans he was going to eat. Anansi, he started thinking too about all the yams and beans growing in the field. So he told his wife, Tukuma, that he was going to sneak over to the provision field with his basket to get a taste. He told her stay at the gate with a basket so that when he came back with a basket of yams, she could hand him one for the beans. Takuma said, "Duppies," goes, "are going to catch you, husband." Nancy sucked its teeth. Duppies. Duppies don't bother me. Tonight I'm a white man, and the duppies won't go after me. Now, Bruh Death thought that his provisions were getting to look awfully nice, so he started to stand watch over the field at night with his cutlass in his hand. By and by, he heard a sound and snuck over, and sure enough, he saw Anansi with a basket right there in the middle of his field. He said, "Howdy, Bruh Anansi. What's happening with you?" And Anansi said, "Howdy, Bruh Dad. I'm just feeling so-so. What brings you into the provision field at this time of night? I like to watch your yams grow, Bruh Dad." "Your mouth is running away with you, Anansi. Why are you carrying a basket?" "For crawfish, Bruh Dad." So, he could see that Anansi was there to steal his yams. So he fell at him with his cutlass, and Anansi started running toward home. He called way down the road, "Open the back door! Shut the front door! Takuma, Death is coming after me!" And Takuma didn't hear him too well and asked, "Well, did you fill the basket?" Anansi, who was closer now, said, "You fool! You open the back door! Shut the front door!" She still couldn't hear him well. "What did you say? My husband? Did you bring me the basket? Oh, you fool! Open the back door! Shut the front door! Death is coming after me!" Nancy ran in the front door, and Death almost caught him and hit him with his cutlass. Nancy ran out the back and into an old shed and ran up the wall like a big black spider, and he hid himself in a cranny so that Bruh Death couldn't find him. And that's why you always find Anansi and all his webs sitting up in the rafters of old sheds in places like that. The end. Oh wow, some great stories coming from the book African-American Folktales, Stories from Black Traditions in the New World. Now, if you listen to my stories weekly, or as they come out, let's say, then you probably notice something. I did a trickster series, not intentionally to begin with. I did know I wanted to do a Bruh Rabbit story because I hadn't done one in a while, an Anansi story, and I know I wanted to do Coyote. I didn't initially intend to do High John, and definitely didn't intend to do Crow. But when I did High John, because I wanted to do a High John story, and to me, High John and Bruh Rabbit are the closest of the tricksters as far as African American stories go. But when I realized that, and I'm like, oh, I have Coyote, I have High John, I have Bruh Rabbit, and I have Anansi for sure. And I was like, are those all of the well-known tricksters of the Americas, or of America, let's say? North America, that is. And then I realized, no, you have crow also. So in this, we did 3, well, you can technically say 2 African American tricksters, 2 Native American tricksters, and then Anansi is more of like a all over the place Caribbean and American trickster, right? And I finished with Anansi because I knew that he wasn't necessarily going to come out unscathed the most, you know. High John, pretty much, he's going to come out pretty much on top in almost every story. He's not going to fail too many times. Bruh Rabbit, he gets knocked on the head a couple times, but he normally comes out on top. I didn't realize what Crow was going to do, and Coyote, he kind of has a more of a Anansi situation where, although he's a trickster, he kind of gets the butt in more times than the other ones do. So him and Anansi, there's a reason why I finished off with those two, because they get hit the hardest in these stories, you know. But I love these stories about Anansi and him getting what he deserves in these 3. Not really getting the best of his opponent. Tortoise, he wound up not being there after being mean to him. Running from Black Snake and trying to get Armadillo eaten. And I love the way Armadillo stood up to him like, bro, this is your house. Because I'm that way. Like, I'm not going to eat at your house and then, you know, open your door. You know, people coming in, it ain't my house, it's your house. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't want nobody doing that at my house, you know? So I definitely understand where Armadillo was coming from. And then with Death, him basically, you know, becoming the spider that we know him to be, you know, hiding up in the corners, hiding in the rafters and everything like that, and you know, staying out of sight, out of mind, you know, so that way people don't come after you, you know. And we know people like that, you know, people that do things wrong to you, and then when it's time to get what they deserve, they run off. You know, they're no longer to be found. I had a couple former friends like that myself growing up. A couple times, these guys I trusted did me wrong, and when it came time to pay the piper, they were nowhere to be found. You know, they ran for quite a long time. So, you know, I understand. I understand what was going on there, because I've experienced a couple of Anansis in my life. And you probably have too, you know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the impromptu trickster series. I know this story comes out right after Juneteenth, and I know you're probably like, where was the Juneteenth episode? That will be the next episode. I just, like I said, it was an impromptu trickster series. If I wouldn't have cut Crow out, then the Juneteenth episode would have come out when it was supposed to. But that will be the next story after this one. All right. So go see Chef. I'm sure he has a wonderful recipe for you, inspired by these stories. And until we are on our next voyage, I thank you. I appreciate you. And as always, have a blessed day.
Welcome, my friends, to the Galley. I am your chef, and today we have a wonderful recipe inspired by the stories you have just heard. Today, we will be creating Jamaican Red Peas Soup without meat. Now, what do you need for this wonderful recipe? 1 cup dry kidney beans, 1 cup homemade coconut milk. You may use canned coconut milk too. 30 grams of red onions, chopped. 2 garlic cloves, chopped. Sprig of thyme. 30 grams of scallions, chopped. 5 pimento berries, allspice. 75 grams of carrots, peeled and diced. 124 grams of pumpkin, chopped and cubed. 150 grams of yellow yam, peeled and chopped in cube. 1 Scotch bonnet pepper. 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 pack soup mix. 6.5 cups of water. For the dumplings, half a cup of plain flour, a quarter cup of water, and salt is optional. Now, how do we put this together? Easy. For the dumplings, in a small bowl, add the flour and salt if you are using salt. Little at a time, add the water and knead to form a soft dough. Separate into several small pieces and make 4 round flat dumplings and 4 long ones. Now, for the soup, wash the beans and leave to soak in cold water for at least 2 to 3 hours or more. If you are using a pressure cooker, not need to soak the beans. In a pot, pour the beans and 5 cups of water. You can use the water you soak the beans in, along with 1 garlic clove, the pimento berries, and the salt. Cook on medium-high heat for about 30 to 40 minutes or until the beans soften. If you are using a pressure cooker, you only need 15 minutes for the beans to cook. If you are using a pressure cooker, remember to let it cool before removing the lid. Once the beans are cooked, turn the heat to medium-low. Add the coconut milk, onion, thyme, and scallion. Cover and bring to a boil. Add the carrot, pumpkin, yam, dumplings, and Scotch bonnet pepper. At this point, you will need more water. Add another cup and a half. Cover and bring to a boil. In a bowl, add the soup mix and a little water. Whisk until the mixture is smooth. Pour the mixture into the soup pot. Cover and bring to a boil. Taste the soup if it is seasoned to your liking, and add more salt if needed. Cover and cook for another 30 minutes or until the food in the pot are fully cooked. Halfway through, turn the heat to low to prevent burning. Stir occasionally throughout. Remove the Scotch bonnet pepper and thyme stems before serving. And that is it, my friends. Now, go. Make this recipe yours. And until I have another wonderful story for you, remember the adventures of Anansi and how not to be like him. Until next time, my friends, as always, enjoy.
Thank you, my friends, for coming on this voyage. Thanks to Art by Chalet for the logo, episode, and shirt designs. You can get t-shirts and other items on tpublic.com. You can contact me on all socials at AfroTalesCast. That's AfroTalesCast. And email me at AfroTalesCast@gmail.com. You may also become a benefactor by simply sharing with any and everyone, giving a thumbs up, a 5-star rating and review in your podcast app of choice, or simply donating on Patreon or Ko-fi.com. That's KO-fi.com. So until we meet again, may your winds be fair and your seas follow.